All right. We are live. Hello, everybody. My name is Diana Mayfield, and I'm the head of content here at DesignFiles. Today, we are joined by our CEO, Sheilah MacSporran. Sheilah is going to teach us how to create sloped ceilings, coffered ceilings, tray ceilings, and more. How's it going today, Sheilah?
It's going good. It's going good. I had a lot to plan for this presentation. There was a lot of different looks that I wanted to try to cover so that you can get a sense for how you can customize your ceilings in a variety of different ways using the 3D floor planner. So we're going to try to get through all of it. If we don't get through all of it, then I'll create an additional video towards for anything that we didn't quite cover, and then I can send those out to you. But I'm pretty sure we should be able to do all of this. So
Awesome.
I'm excited. I think that there's lots of good content here to share. So maybe we just dive right in and just
dive straight in. Okay, let's do it. I was wondering, like, should we chit chat? Should we dive? Okay.
I'm all for chit chatting, but I feel like I'm going to be under the gun for this one just to get everything done.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So yeah, if you want to share your screen, and maybe to kickstart, you could also kind of just give us a little preview of some of the updates, or tell us kind of why it was recently updated. What was like the motivation for some of these updates that we're going to see? That would, I think, be cool.
Sure. Okay, so let me go ahead. I'm first going to share my screen here. We'll get that set up. Okay, Diana, let me know if you see my screen on your end.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, the team has been working really hard on the 3D floor planner. There's been a lot of customizations that have been added. So we first started with a wall customizer so that you could create all kinds of paneling and different patterns for your walls. But then we also expanded that into the floor editor and into the ceiling editor, because we had tons of requests from designers who wanted to be able to create custom looks like this right here, where you can kind of create custom panels that are going to go all the way up the wall and along the ceiling. We had more requests for designs like this, where it's more of a coffered ceiling, or simply adding in wood beams to your ceilings. And then we also had a lot of requests for creating tray ceilings, different slope ceilings, adding wood beams to the slope, and handling a variety of different scenarios. So the team has put in quite a bit of work into the ceiling customizer to help you create all of these different looks. And in today's session, I thought we would just kind of knock those off one after the other. So I'm going to make my way through and show you how to complete each of these looks. And then towards the end, we're also even going to address cases like this, where you might have a single space that has ceilings at different angles and at different heights, and you need to be able to customize the ceiling to kind of replicate your client space. So we're going to touch on that as well. And then there was a few little updates that we had made to the system, which is why we postponed it a week, just because the overall workflow was going to be much easier. So instead of describing all of that, I think what I'll do is I'll just dive into the ceiling editor. I'm going to show you how it works, and you'll be able to see how some of those updates have made the whole process a lot easier.
Okay, awesome. So everybody, if you guys have a question while Sheilah's going through this, please pop them in the comments now. So that way when we get to Q&A, we've got some questions already. So please keep them coming. I'm going to hop off. Sheilah, I do realize I think we have to keep your video, because I think if I remove you, it removes your audio too. Because I always get a little warning when I remove myself that my audio is going to be removed. So I think we'll keep you up there, and then I will be back for Q&A.
Okay, that sounds great. So let's see. To begin with, we're going to start with kind of simple customizations, and then we're going to make our way up to some that are a little bit more complex. And when I say complex, don't worry about it. They're going to be dead easy to do as well. So let's go ahead. We're going to kickstart by recreating this design right here. And if I open up, I've got this room already set up, but I've removed all the paneling. So I'm basically going to take this design and we're going to adjust it so that we can include all the paneling. So I'm just going to open this one up, and we'll load it in. Okay, so let's jump into the 3D perspective. Whenever you're dealing with customizing your walls, your ceilings, your floors, you're going to be jumping into the 3D perspective mode, because basically when we let this design load in, you're going to notice that when I rotate this design around here, if I want to customize one of the walls within this space or the ceiling, you're going to click directly on the wall, or you're going to click directly on the ceiling, and then you're going to enter into the surface editor. Now, in this particular case, I am going to edit the design for the wall first, because I'm going to have the kind of slat panel that's going to run all the way up the wall, and then I'm going to edit my ceiling afterwards so I can match it so that everything is going along the exact same angle, or matching up on the sides, I guess is what I want to say. So let's first click into editing this wall. I just click on the wall. I'm going to click into this icon right here to edit the surface, and that's going to bring me into the wall surface editor. So this is the wall that we're going to be editing. And this is my 3D previewer. So I'll be able to expand this if I want to see how the updates that I'm making within the wall editor are actually happening, or what they look like within my 3D design. So you can always expand or close this down. And if I want to create a panel here for that kind of wood slat look, then all I'm going to do is pop over here to the right side panel. Here you can see that we can add shapes, we can add trim, and there's also the texture library right here where I can pick any paint or wallpaper or tile or whatever that I want to add to the wall. But first I'm going to add a shape, and then we're going to fill that shape with the actual wood slat texture that I'm going to use. So I'm going to select the rectangle here. I'm just going to click on the top edge of the wall, which is basically where the ceiling is. I'm going to move my mouse out, and I'm going to click along the bottom edge of this wall so that it's going floor to ceiling. The next thing that I need to do here is I need to add in the texture. I need to fill this space with something so that it will show within the 3D editor. So we're going to come down here to the texture library. I'm going to go into the wood section, and in the wood section, you'll see there's different categories. So I'm just going to pop into wood panels, and in here, you're going to see there's lots that you can choose from. So in here, I'm just going to select this option right here. I'm going to click and add it to that rectangular shape, and you're going to see that it's going to show. And if I expand my 3D previewer, you can see exactly where it is within your design. Now, if you know the exact distance that you want to place this, you're going to see the measurements here and here. In this case, I'm actually just going to eyeball it. I want it to just come to the edge of the headboard here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the edge of this rectangle, and I'm just going to drag it out, just like that. And I'll do the same thing over here. Just click on the edge of this one, and I'm going to drag it in. And I can see in the 3D previewer where it's actually kind of hitting just behind the headboard here. So that looks pretty good for me. So I think I can actually close this down here. And a couple of things that you're going to want to know whenever you're adding any panels or any sort of details to your walls. When you click directly on the shape, you're going to see this panel pop up over here. So this is all the properties that you can edit. One of the things that you could do if you wanted to change up the overall rotation of the pattern, here I could just say 90 degrees, and then you're going to see that the boards are going to run a different angle. I could also do 45. So if you just have different designs that you want to incorporate, you can always use the rotation tool to change up the orientation of the texture. I'm going to leave this just as it was, but down here I also have an extrusion tool, and I do want to use this. So basically the extrusion tool is going to it's going to add a little bit of depth to this wood panel. So I just want this to stick out maybe 2 inches, just so it's kind of coming off of the wall a little bit. But if I'm just going to open this back up here, because if I made this extrusion 20 inches, you're going to see how it pops right out. Okay, so that's adding much more depth. I just need the 2 inches. So we'll pop that back, and that's about it. So I'm done with editing this wall. So I'm just going to go ahead and save the wall. And now that I've got this in, let's go ahead. We're going to edit the ceiling so that we can extend this paneling and make it go all the way along the ceiling. So we're going to click into the ceiling surface editor by clicking the edit icon here. Here's my ceiling. And if I zoom in here, this is going to come in really handy for you. You see this little green line here? Maybe I'll zoom right in just in case it's hard to see. But you see this green line here? This is indicating to me that this is where that wood panel is that I added to the wall. So it's going to make it easy for me to line up my ceiling panel because I can just match up with these edges. So I'm going to go ahead and just zoom out a little bit so I can see the full ceiling. And then again, I'm going to take the rectangular tool here, And I'm just going to click right here to add my first point. It's just on the edge of where that wood panel is. And then I'm going to just slide it along here until I'm kind of matching up on the other edge, right there. Okay, so now back into the wood library. And then instead of actually having to go into the wood panels and find that texture again, I'm just going to pop into recents. And there's the one that I used. So I'm going to click on that, bring it back out, click into the rectangular space to add it. This time the panel is going vertical, whereas I wanted to go lengthwise. So I am going to rotate it in this case. So we're going to do 90 degrees. And again, I'm going to extrude this out 2 inches. We're going to save this design. And there it is. So it's pretty quick and easy to use. You can use this technique for adding any sort of paneling to your walls, to your ceilings. And there's a variety of different kind of patterns or shapes that you could add. But I just wanted to give you a quick sense for how you can add panels like this to your ceiling. And you should be able to do it in a few minutes with these specific steps. So now that we've done that one, let's go back to our other designs here. And let's look at this one. If you want to create a ceiling design like this, where it's more of a kind of looking like a coffered ceiling, then you can follow the next steps that I'm going to show you. And I'm just going to, here we go. This is the design that we're going to use. I've cleared out the ceiling. So we're going to recreate that exact same look using this design. And I might as well just close this one down and we'll just keep knocking off these designs as we go forward. So let's go ahead. We'll edit this one. Okay, I'm just going to jump into the 3D perspective mode. And we'll let this design load in. Alrighty, so we've got our basic design here. I'm going to click into the ceiling editor. We're going to hit the edit icon right there. That's going to bring me straight into the ceiling editor. Now, in this case, I want to create more of a coffered ceiling. So I'm going to have 3 kind of box frames that go across here and then 3 down here. So it's going to be a total of 9 boxes within this space. So one of the things that you will want to do is you're going to have to do a little bit of math just to make sure that you're kind of creating your boxes at the correct size. So before I actually jump in to do this, I'm actually going to close this. And this is just a personal preference. For me, I find it easier to do the math when I'm dealing with just inches instead of feet and inches. So I'm going to go into this gear icon. I'm going to switch over to just inches, and then I'll go back into the ceiling editor. So now I can see that the full length of the wall here is 167 inches. And this is actually a square room, so it's 167 inches all around. So if I wanted to create a coffered ceiling here, what I need to do is I first need to determine how thick I want the framing to be that's going to go in between each of those kind of square boxes. So I was thinking that I would do maybe 8 inches for the framing. So that means I would have 8 inches here, 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 and here. So I would do 8, 16, 24, and 32. That means that if I open up my calculator here, let's just clear this out. We're first going to start with the full length of the wall. So 167 is the full length of the wall. I then need to subtract the amount that I'm going to be using for the framing. So in my case, it's going to be 32 because I'm going to have 4 sections at 8 inches. So I'm going to subtract 32, and that's going to leave me with 135. Now, the 135 is the remaining space that I'm going to be using for the 3 boxes. So I'm going to divide that by 3, and that's going to tell me that my boxes need to be 45 inches wide. So now that I know that, I'm just going to create a rectangular shape. I'm not going to worry about getting it exactly 45 right now. I just want to get the shape into place. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to use my arrows, my left, right, and up, down arrows on my keyboard to just shift this over until it's 8 inches here and 8 inches here. And then what we're going to do here is I need to just stretch this out to 45, and I need this to be at 45 as well. Okay, so we've got it at 45. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add in my texture to the specific box. So I'm going to add a wood texture to it. You can add whatever you like, but I'm going to pop into the wood library. I'm going to go into wood textures, And I think I have a specific one here that I'm going to use. So 00461. Okay, perfect. So this is the one that I'm going to use. I'm going to apply it to this square. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just duplicate this square to create the rest of them. So I'm going to use the duplicate tool right here. I'm going to move this up. You're going to see your red guidelines pop on, so it'll snap you into 8 inches on the side. And then you can just use your arrows on your keyboard to make sure that the gap between this one and this one is 8. We'll do the same thing up here. And then again, I'm just going to pump this down to 8. So now that I've got that, what I can actually do to speed up this process is just click on one of these. I'll hold down Shift. I'm going to click on the other ones. And if you're on a Mac, you would hold down Command. And then I can duplicate all 3 of them and just shift them over. And then once I have these over here, I'm just going to line them up like that. And then we'll do it again. And we're just going to line these up. Okay, so we've got all of our squares in place. So the next thing, if I open this up, you're going to see exactly what your ceiling is looking like. So what we need to do now is we need all of this framing in between to extend down into the space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the original shape, the original ceiling square here. And I'm going to go back to my main library. I'm going to go into Paint. I'm going to add a paint color to that. And I believe I was going to use Archive. There we go. And I'm going to click on that, click directly into that shape. And now what we need to do is we need to extrude this down. So I'm going to just put in 5 inches here, and then you'll see how it pops the ceiling down into the space. So you can extrude it however much you like. So if I just wanted to see it lightly done, I might do 2 inches in, and you'll see that it's going to update here. It's really up to you. So let's go back to 5 inches, and we'll save this ceiling, and there you go. Okay. Now, let's say that we want to change up this design a little bit. Let's say that instead of having the framing all painted, let's say that we want to do that as wood beams. So I'm going to clear out this particular design, and we're going to redo it, but we're going to add wood beams. And because I'm going to be dealing with designing wood beams, I'm actually going to do it a little differently because I want to control the grain so that it's going along the right angles. So I'm going to close this, or just clear it out. And we're going to pop right back into this design. And this time we're going to start adding in some rectangular shapes for the wood beams. So back into here, click on the rectangular tool. I'm just going to add a wood beam anywhere right now. And let's say that we're going to make this 7 inches. Okay. So we've got our wood beam here. I'm going to go back into the wood library, back into textures, and then we'll just pick any texture. So I'll use this one. In this case, I'm going to again extrude this out 5 inches, or maybe I'll extrude it at 6 inches. And what I can then do is, let's just make sure I've got the full ceiling visible to you. I'm going to shift this one down. Let's maybe put this down to, I don't know, 50. We'll do 50 inches from the edge of the wall here. Okay, let's go ahead and we're going to duplicate this. We're going to add another one right down here. And we'll do this one, 50 from the edge of the wall. And again, I'm just using my left, right, up, down arrows. So now what I can do here is I can create the other sections that are going to come down in between, okay? One of the things you don't want to do, this is just a quick tip, you don't want to grab your rectangular tool and then just create like a shape that's going to cut through the other beams. The reason I say that is because if you cut through the other beams, it's going to break these ones. So you're going to have to fill this space, this space, this space, and in between. It's also going to make things a little bit difficult if you're trying to adjust certain sections because it will distort the other panels. So you don't want to do that. So we're going to undo this. What you do want to do is take your rectangular tool right here, and we're just going to fill in the space in between. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to make a little beam right here. And then again, I'm just going to take this in. We're going to make it 7 inches. We're going to use the same texture. I'm going to rotate my texture because I want the wood grain to go in the right angle. So we're going to do this 90 and we're going to extrude this 6. So now I've got this little piece right here. And then what I can do is I can just duplicate that so that I'm kind of, you know what, maybe I'll just shift this over so it's 50 in here as well. Perfect. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate that and then I can add it here. And I'll just extend this one up. Just like that. And I'm going to do the same thing right here. Take this one, copy it, and I'm going to add it up here. And I can duplicate that, bring it over, and then add in my next one. So we'll just adjust this one so it's 50 here. Take it all the way down here and 50 in the center. And that's it. And then we should be able to pop in. So I'm just going to line this one up right here. And then we'll be able to pop into the editor, save this design, and we'll see what this looks like. There you go. So that's how you can add in your wood beams and also control the angle for the wood grain so that it looks correct. And of course, if you are building out more of a coffered ceiling and you're going to paint the frames, you might find that it's easier to just draw out the individual squares and then you can just kind of extrude the overall shape afterwards. So there's 2 different ways that you can approach it. Okay, so let's keep moving forward here. We're going to jump into the next one down here. There were a lot of designers who were asking how to create tray or tiered ceilings using the 3D editor. So I wanted to show you a few steps that you can use for that as well. So let's jump into this design and we'll basically create a tray ceiling for this one. Again, I think I'll just close out any of the floor planners that I had open, and then we'll just open up this one right here. Okay, we'll load this one in, and I'm just going to take a sip while it's doing that. Okay, so we've got a basic room right here, and let's say that we wanted to add in a trade ceiling to this. So back into the editor, we just click on the ceiling. We're going to click into the edit surface. In this case, I am just going to draw one rectangle right in the middle here. And I don't really care if the measurements are exact because I'm going to adjust that after the fact. So just draw out your rectangle. And then in this case, because we're creating a trade ceiling, let's say you wanted this to be a foot in on all edges. So if you want that, you can just click directly into the distance measurement here. You're going to put in 12 and then just hit enter on your keyboard and it's going to basically set it at the correct measurement. Now, one thing to keep in mind here, I just put in 12 because if I just put in whatever, 12, 24, it's going to default to inches. If you wanted to do something like 1 foot 6 inches, then what you would do is you would put in 1, you're going to put in a single, let me just clear this out, a single quote mark, and then you're going to put in, hold on a second, I've got 2 here. So we're going to put in 1, we're going to put in a single quote mark, and then we're going to put in 6, and then we're going to do the double quote mark, okay? And then that will give you the 1.6. So if you just put in a number, it will default to inches. If you want to put it in as feet and inches, make sure that you're also including your quote marks as well. And then it'll give you the appropriate number. Okay, so back to 12. Back to 12 for this, all the way around. And then that's going to give me that tray. So I've got this squared off and centered within my space. So the next thing that I can do is I can start adding some paint colors to this. So we'll go into the paint color library. You can go into any of these collections if you like and pick a specific paint color. I'm just going to go ahead and go into my recents because I've already added specific colors to this design. So if you've already done the same and you just want to quickly pull one of the exact colors you've already used within your design for other elements, go into your recents and you'll find them there. So I'm going to use the strong white for both of these shapes. And then what I'm going to do here is I'll just bring this out so you can see what's happening. I'm going to click on this outer one, and I'm going to extrude that one down 6 inches. And then you'll see in your design right here how that is taking shape in your actual 3D design. Now you could choose to create as many tiers as you like. So let's say that you wanted to create multiple. So I'm just going to add another one in here. One key thing to note when you are adding in multiple tiers, remember how I had mentioned that you could just adjust the distance measurement here? So that works really, really well if you are changing the distance between the edge of a shape and the wall, because the wall is a fixed position. It's not going to adjust. So when you do it, when you use this field right here, it's just going to push this line in whatever your set measurement is. So in my case, it's a foot. But if you are changing the distance between a shape and another shape, if you use this, it's going to split the difference, which means it's going to adjust this line. So just be aware of that. So if I made this 4 inches, you can see how it's adjusting this line as well. If you don't want that to happen, then basically what you want to do is you can always do the distance measurements if you're dealing with a shape and a wall. So we'll hit 12 here. And if I wanted this distance to be, I don't know, let's make it 5 inches, right? I would just pull in the edge of the inner polygon or the inner rectangular shape so that it's dragging and coming close to this wall. Okay, so we would do the same thing over here, drag it up. And over here, and down at the bottom. Okay, so in this case, we would just add another color to this. If I wanted multiple tiers, it means that you're going to make your outer tier the one that has the most extrusion. So let's say that we make this one 10, and then your inner tier will be slightly less. So we'll make this one 5. And if I open up my 3D previewer, you'll see what that looks like. Okay. Now, one last thing that I did want to address, let's say that you wanted to create a tiered ceiling and you want the ceiling and the bottom of the tier to be the same color, and you want the side of the tier and the wall to be the same color. So here's how we're going to do that. I'm just going to get rid of this for a second here. Okay. And let's bring our design back to the normal. Let's see here. I want this to be at 0, and I want this one to be at 5. Okay, so we're back to our normal one with just the single tier. So if I want to create, if I want to paint the inside edge of that tier, here's how I'm going to do it. I am going to create another rectangular shape. And in this case, I'm going to make this one the white color, because this is now my new ceiling. This is the part that's flush with the ceiling. And what I'm going to do now is for the tier in between here, I'm going to paint that a different color. So that's going to be the one that is my wall color. So I'll show you what this is looking like. So right now you can see what it looks like. It's flat against the ceiling. We don't want it to be flat. We need it to extend down. And we're also going to thin this out so it just looks like a thin line that's pressed right up against the edge of this tier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude this out. Let's see, which was 5 inches. Okay, so we need it to match. So we're going to do 5 inches. And now that I've got that, I'm just going to zoom right in here. I'm going to click on the edge of this rectangular shape, and I'm going to drag it all the way to about 1/2 inch. I just want this to appear almost like a thin line. So it's just sitting on top of the edge of just sitting next to the edge of the actual tier. So we're going to drag this in just to about 1/2 inch here. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing on the bottom. There we go. So if I save this, now it looks like your tier is painted on this edge, and then you've got the bottom of the tier and the ceiling the same color, and the side of the tier and or the side of the tray tier, whatever you want to call it, the side of that and the wall painted the same color. Now, one quick thing to note, just a quick tip. I'm going to go back in here. If you ever decide that you want to change out the color that you put into that little thin area right here, you're not going to be able to just click and drag. Like you can't just click and then click to add a color to this shape because it's just so small. So what you want to do is just pull one edge out, and then you can add in your new color, and then you can close it back up so that your design is back to the way you like it. Okay. And then you'll see how it updates in here. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. So let's pop into our next design. And I'm just going to close out that one right there. Let's pop into this one. So now we're starting to get into changing the actual angle of the ceiling and also adding in wood beams on angles as well. And then we'll also get into doing different ceiling heights and angles within the same space. So the next design that we're going to create is this one right here. We've got basically a peaked ceiling, and then we're also going to include wood beams that run along the angle of the ceiling and along the top length of it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up this design, and we'll recreate that look. Okay. Here we go. So whenever you are dealing with sloped ceilings, the important thing that you want to keep in mind is you want to make sure that when you are doing your floor plan, you're setting your ceiling height to the max height. So whatever the tip of that ceiling is, that is the ceiling height that you need to set it at. Because once you've done that, then we can come back in and we can create a slope. We'll basically edit this wall here to create a rectangular shape that we're going to extrude all the way out, and that's going to create your slope. So first things first, always make sure your ceiling height is to the max height where the very tip of that ceiling is. Once you've done that, let me think about this. I'm going to just switch over to inches as well instead of feet and inches, just because for me it's easier. You can absolutely do whatever you like. But now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to jump into this wall right here. And it might seem a little, I don't know, counterintuitive maybe, but if you want to create a sloped ceiling, you're not actually going to edit the ceiling, you're actually going to edit the wall. And we're going to create a rectangular shape on this wall that will extend out. So in this case, I'm going to click on this wall. We're going to edit this particular wall here. It's going to bring me into the wall editor. You can see where the windows are located. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start by adding a shape. So we'll click into the shape. We're going to click into the line tool. And then I'm just going to create a rectangular shape right here. Again, I'm not going to worry too much about my measurements because I can always adjust it after once I have that shape created. So in this case, let's say that we're going to make this 72 inches. Okay. And over here, I want this to, oh, wow. Okay, so it's even. I was going to shift this point to make sure that this was even and my peak was right in the center of this particular wall here, but it looks like we're good to go. So now what we need to do is we're going to fill this particular shape. So I'm going to go into the recents. Again, you can go into the library and pick a specific color if you like. If you already have colors that you've been using in your design, pop into your recents and you'll see them here. So I'm going to use the ultra white. And actually, I do need to just save this design and pop back out because in order for me to determine what the overall length of this extrusion is going to be, I need to know the full length of this sidewall here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save my wall here, and then I'm just going to go into the floor plan mode. So 225. So we need our rectangular shape to extrude out 225 inches. Okay, let's pop back in. Click the shape, 225. And if I open up my 3D previewer, you're going to see it extend all the way out. So then we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side here, right over here. So back in here, add a shape. We're going to click on the line tool. We're going to add a point in the corner, come all the way over here. You're going to snap into place. You can see how it's snapping. If you had space between, then you would just come to here, right? So you can always leave a bit of the ceiling open. In my case, it comes to a point. So I'm going to click here. And then when I come down here, it's also going to recognize where to snap to match up the other side. So you'll see your guideline appear. So that was one of the new updates that we added to make it a lot easier to line up your rectangles or your shapes that you're adding to your walls. So now what we'll do is we're going to fill this same shape. So I'm going to go into recents. I'm going to make this ultra white, and I'm going to extrude this 225 inches, just like I did to the other side. And if I save this and come back in, you can see that we now have that sloped ceiling. So now that we have this sloped ceiling, let's go ahead and we're going to start adding wood beams to it that are going to run all the way down the center of the top and up the sides here. So there's actually one of the reasons that we delayed this presentation is because we actually have a new object builder that I was really hoping we could have ready for this presentation. We're so close. We're like 98% there, but it's not quite ready. So I'm going to show you how you can actually just use wood beams from the product library and add them to your design. But the new object builder that we will be launching very, very shortly will allow you to create beams, shapes, whatever you want, and then fully customize it in any finish. So it'll give you a lot more flexibility. But for now, let's go ahead. We'll just select a beam from the library. We're going to add this in here. And I want this to run lengthwise. So I'm just going to switch into the floor plan mode here. You probably noticed that we have a new object mover within the DesignFiles 3D floor planner as well. It's also going to give you a lot more control. So you've got this large rotation ring where you can rotate it around and it will snap to the 90 degrees so that you can get everything exact. And then you've got your arrows here that allow you to shift it on a specific axis. Or you can just grab it anywhere within here and move it freely. So you got a lot more control with this one. Now I need to make this wood beam 225 inches because we're going to go the full length. And let's give it a little bit more, I don't know, let's make it a little chunkier. So we'll do 7s. Okay. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to line it up with the center of this space. We're going to go back into the 3D perspective mode here. I'm going to click on my beam and I'm just going to raise it up. And actually, let's see here. What was my total? 220. Okay. So if we move this up to 220, it's probably going to go right above my ceiling. Okay. Yeah. And then I can just bring it down so that it is sitting just below the slope. Okay. So now that I've got this in place, the next thing I want to do is I want to add in some more beams that I'm going to add to the angle of the ceiling up here. So one thing that we will need to do here, and again, this is something that the new structure creator is going to, you won't have to do this extra step, this extra workaround, but just in the interim. If I wanted to use this wood beam, you can see that I've got a tilt option here, but right now it's going to tilt it this way. So you can see this kind of tilting towards me. I don't want it to tilt that way. So what I'm actually going to do here is we'll close this one out. And I want to change this up. So I'm going to reverse the width and the depth here. So I'm going to do 7 and 7. And we'll make this, what are we going to make this? We'll make this like 140. I need it to be long enough that it's going to go the full length here. So we'll just test this out. We're going to rotate this one around. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop back into the floor plan mode. And I'm just going to bring it over here. I'm going to extend this a little bit out of the wall here because when I rotate it on an angle, it will start to come, well, you'll see what's going to happen. Basically, it's just going to tilt forward. So let's go back here. We're going to raise this up. I'll go about halfway. And then I'm going to use the tilt option here. Oh, I got to tilt the other way. And we're just going to tilt it until we get this moving along the same angle of the ceiling here. $33. Let's see if we've got this, or maybe just one more. We'll go up to 34. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm just going to raise it up till I see that it's starting to disappear into the ceiling here. And that's it. So now we've got one beam that's on the angle. So now that I've got this placed, I'm going to go into the floor plan mode and I'm just going to duplicate this particular beam. And we'll add it over here. Okay. And then I can also duplicate it again. I'm going to rotate this one. Bring it over here. Line it up so that it's in front of the, just in line with the other one. And then we'll duplicate again and line it up over here. So right about here. Okay, let's have a look and we'll see what this looks like. All right, so there you go. You've got your wood beams running along the angle of the ceiling. You've got your other one that's running straight across the center at the top. Here's another thing that you could do if you wanted. We could take this one right here. I'm just going to duplicate this, rotate this around, and I'm going to change it. Oh, it's actually 225, 216. We'll make this 216 so that it is the full length of this wall right here. And here's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to line this one up as well. And if you wanted to, let's see here. Oh, where did I put my beam? There it is. I'm going to bring it down. Okay. So here, what we could do is you could lift this up and it would give you the cross beam. If you were looking at creating a look like that. It looks like this one I could probably shift out a little bit more just so that it's touching the ceiling, but it gives you the idea that you can do your wood beams along the angle of the ceiling across the top, and you can even create the cross ones that are going to connect the two wood beams together. And then again, you would be able to duplicate that and then line it up with the wood beams that are on the back half here so that you also have the cross section. Okay. I'm going to do one more. I know we're getting close on time here. I'm going to do one more type of ceiling that you can address with the new ceiling editor. So I'm going to pop out of this one and we'll just go into, let's see here. I want to show you how you can create a space like this where you might have a low section in the ceiling. You might have an angle on another part. You've got different heights. And you need to be able to create it in the same space. So I'm going to close the other floor planner option that I had open. We're going to open up this design, which is exactly the same, but I've just cleared out the ceiling. And we're going to rebuild that as well. So let's go ahead. We're going to pop in here. And we'll load up this design. Okay, so here we go. Now in this case, we're going to do two different, well, one angled ceiling, one that's going to be a drop ceiling. So we'll start with the angled ceiling to begin with. So I'm going to just, again, I know it sounds a little bit strange, but whenever you're creating a sloped ceiling, you're actually never going to edit the ceiling itself. You're going to edit the wall so that you can create those kind of rectangular shapes in the corner, the top corner of the wall, and extrude it out. So if we wanted to do that for this side here, first thing we need to do is we need to know the full length of this wall. So again, I'm going to pop into the gear icon. I'm going to switch over to just inches, and I can see that this is 226 inches. So now that I know that, I'm going to pop into the 3D perspective mode, click on this wall, and we're going to edit this wall to create that slope. So we'll edit this. You can see where the door is. Again, we're just going to create a shape. So in this case, I'm going to use the line tool. I'm going to start at this point, come out here, and I'm going to create my rectangular shape. And again, I can always adjust this afterwards. So if I wanted this to be 36 inches, you can just zoom in. I'm zooming in by using the wheel on my mouse and then just drag it up until you have the measurement that you want. Then what we're going to do here is we're going to fill it with paint. So I'll just use the ultra white. And I'm going to extrude this out 226 inches. And if I open up my 3D previewer, you'll see that you've now got that sloped ceiling. So now that I've got that, we'll save this. And the next thing that I want to do now is I'm going to create that drop section that's going to come across here. So in order to do that, I need to go into the floor plan mode. I need to see what this distance is. So it's 183. So we're going to go back into the 3D perspective mode. And you could Well, you could do two things. You could choose to edit this wall and extrude out, or you could choose to edit this wall and extrude it lengthwise down. So I'm going to extrude this wall. So if I do that, I'm going to click on this option right here, enter the surface editor, and then I'm going to create my shape. I'm going to add it to the top of the wall here. And let's say that I want this to come down to 24. There we go. So it's just 2 feet drop down. I'm going to then fill this. So we're going to, again, I'm just going to go into the recents and I'll use the ultra white, and I need to extrude this out 183 inches, and then we'll save it. And then you can see that that shape has taken place right here. Now, if I wanted, right now, if the ceiling is the ultra white color, I've got my walls a different color. If I wanted this section right here to match the wall color, here's what I would do. I'm going to go back in to this wall, edit this wall. We're going to zoom right in here. Similar to the way we did it for the tray ceiling, we're going to add a shape. I'm going to put in a tiny little rectangular sliver right here. I'm going to go into my paint library, go into recents. I'll select the color that I've used for my wall. I'm going to add it in here. I need to extrude this thin little piece out 183 inches, okay? So it's sitting right over here, but I need it to come forward. So I'm going to do 183, and then there it is. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to zoom in here. So again, I'm just using the wheel on my mouse. I'm going to zoom in, grab the side of this, pull it in. I just need a little sliver. I don't need a big chunky section of it, so just a little sliver, and then we'll save it. And then you'll get your paint color to match your walls, but you also have your drop-down ceilings, and you can have the ceiling color on the bottom of this, but you have your actual wall color for the side here. So, okay, not so shabby. We were able to kind of get through all of this in under 50 minutes. So many different ways that you can customize your walls. But I think now what I probably should do is just stop, because I'm sure there's probably a lot of questions. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing. And Diana, maybe let's just kick right into the Q&A.
Awesome. Excellent. Great job. Okay, so we've got our first question is, what's the best way to create millwork like a picture frame molding on the walls?
Okay, great. Yeah, so well, we can try to do this quickly. With the millwork, what you can do is you can create basic shapes right now. So we will work towards getting kind of more detailed trim options that you can use for that. Let me just see if I've got a specific design. I think I do, actually. So give me 1 second here. I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to go into a different project. Wall paneling. Here we go. Okay, so I've done a little bit like right here. So let's open up this one. And I'll show you how I set this up. And what I can do is I can probably put together a short video that would give you the step-by-step for how to do this, but let's just click into this wall right here. Okay, so I'm going to zoom right in. Hopefully you can see it, but basically what I've done here is I have added in a baseboard trim on the bottom here. So you'll see you have your add trim options. You can choose any of these options. Here's the baseboard, and then you would select the option you want, and it will show right here. When you do that, you also have the ability to change the finish of it. So you can add a paint color, or you could add a wood finish, or whatever it is that you want to your trim. Then I also had up here, I created a rectangular shape, and I just made it narrow, and I made it extrude out of the wall a little bit. So this is acting like my chair rail. This rectangular shape in here, so I created another rectangular shape that filled the gap between the chair rail and the baseboard, and I made it the same color as my chair rail and my baseboard. And then I basically extruded this out just 1 inch because I wanted a little bit of depth from it. And then these squares, these are all the little panels that I had added in, and I kept them at 0 extrusion. I want them to be flat so they look like they're inset into the wall. So that's basically how you would do it. You would have your trim, your baseboard along the top here, or the bottom. If you didn't want to create a rectangular shape, you actually have a chair rail option. So you could add in a chair rail trim. You're going to create a rectangular shape that fills the gap between them. And inside that rectangular shape, you're going to add in your individual square rectangular boxes. And then you just want to make sure that these are never extruded because you want them to look like they're inset. So you would extrude this shape here by 1 or 2 inches. And then that will give you that little shadow that's going to make it look like you've got your paneling set in. But I can create a video for this afterwards. There's lots of videos that we can build out, but hopefully that gives you an idea of how to approach it.
Yes, we got some positive feedback on that one, and that she'd love a video too. So maybe that's something we can add. Okay, next question is, how do you add a half circle window above a regular window?
Great question. So the team has created some arched windows, but what we need to do is they need to work further on the hole that is cut in the wall for that. So right now you're going to find that it kind of has like an open square box. So I'll talk to the team and see if we can see what the timing is going to be to make sure that the arch of that window matches the edges of the wall instead of you having that box shape above it. So I'll definitely get back to you on that.
Awesome. And next question, can you share the link for how to make the fireplace in this space? So
yeah. Okay. Betsy, if you're watching, can you grab the video link for creating custom structures and fireplaces and just add it to the chat?
Cool. Okay. Let's see. Looks like somebody was replying to someone else's question. You would create picture frame molding using the wall editor tool, use 2 squares and extrude the center one. Okay, the next question, how can you create a gallery wall?
Ooh, Betsy, can you grab the video that will show, sorry, which designer is it that asked for that?
Anne Haas.
Okay, Betsy, can you grab the link for the video where we show how to place artwork using the 3D floor planner?
Okay, cool. And then let's see. I'm not sure if she's with us. I'm not seeing a comment from her, so I can reply to those specific comments with the link after in case she's not live. We can just reply right away to your guys' questions. Oh no, here she is. Okay, we've got Betsy with us, adding these links. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Betsy.
Let's see. Here's another question. I'm wondering if there's a video for showing stairs, either going up or down in a space.
We don't have a video for stairs yet. There are, if you go into the product library there and you just search for stairs, you're going to see a number of models. I think it's important to note that we still have some work to do when it comes to showing stairs going down through the floor or up through the ceiling. So I can take that request back to our 3D team and we can look into when we can build that additional functionality in so that you can make it look like it's going through the floor or up through the ceiling.
Nice. Okay. Any other questions about some of the items shown today? Coffered ceilings, trade ceilings, so many ceilings.
I tried to cover a lot.
Yeah, we need like a doctor. Does anybody want to write a Dr. Seuss poem about all the ceilings? No, this was great. And look, you did it like before. We're even under an hour. Look at you.
I tried my best.
Okay, we're getting a comment that says the more videos, the better. So maybe we take some of these, questions and thoughts and make some more videos. Yeah. More for you to do, Sheilah.
I know, right? Yeah. But we'll definitely do that. I think you'll be able to have this recording, so you can always pop back and watch it. But I will be creating individual videos just so you have short 2-3 minute videos. If you just want to learn how to do the coffered ceiling or you want to learn how to do the slope ceiling, we'll have individual videos for each. So that should make things easy. Nice. And then what I think we'll do is we're also going to do another live session where it'll be all about editing your walls. And then we can cover a variety of different use cases for that. You know what? Perhaps, Diana, it might make sense to basically do a call out that allows designers to share their requests that they want to see for that particular session. And then we can replicate those designs live.
Okay, cool. So we did get one last question to show the shadows. Can you show quickly how you showed the shadows? And then maybe we can, yeah. So while Sheilah is going into that, the question is just, I forgot how do we show the shadows. So can you review that quickly? While Sheilah's diving into that, please let us know anything you want to see for the next video, which is we're going to do the wall editor next, right?
Yes, we're going to do the wall editor next.
Okay, the wall editor is next. So if anyone has any questions, okay, I'm adding your screen back to the stage. So you're good there.
Okay, I'm probably going to do, let's close this one. We'll open up one that has like wood paneling and that sort of stuff so you can see how it catches the shadows on the edges of all those little details. So let's go into the one that I had originally. We'll pop into this one. Now, when you're in the editing mode, we're setting up the system so that you're not going to see a lot of intense shadows in the editing mode. The reason for that is that it can create lags in the system when you're working. We want you to be able to work quickly. So when you're in this mode, it might feel a little bright and like there's not that much shadow on it. But what you're going to do is when you're ready, you're going to save your design. You're going to create, I'm just going to go for the 3D perspective one. So we're going to create a render. And in the rendering stage, this is where you're going to be creating that rendered image for your client. So you're going to see that you've got your sun position here, but you also have this lighting intensity. So if I drag this down, it's going to add more shadow to the actual space. So it picks up on all of those edges and gives you more definition when you're creating that final rendered image. So that's the tool that you're going to want to use. And then you also have your light, your sun position. So if you rotate this around, you'll see that it affects the walls differently. And then you can kind of pick the angle that you feel is going to be best suited to get the details or the depth or the shadows that you're looking for. So hopefully that answers your question.
Awesome. Okay, so everybody just pop in the comments if there's anything you guys want to see in the wall editor, or feel free to come back to this video and drop us any requests and we could take a look at those before we do the next session. Sheilah, is there anything else before we wrap up?
I don't think so. I will say that the new custom structure feature that I was really hoping we could showcase on today's live session should be available very shortly. So I'll be sure to create a video and I can show you all the use cases where that will come in really, really handy. I'm really excited about that tool. And I wanted to also say that the team has made some fantastic progress for the new kitchen functionality. We are getting very, very close to launching that. And I'm really excited to just kind of get that out to you guys so you can test it, share your feedback, and then we can continue on. So keep your eyes on your inbox. There's good things that are just around the corner. And I guess we will catch up with you for our next live session.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.